Welcome back to Veteran Idiot. I'm your host Art. I'm gonna be your idiot for the day. Oh man, I have been waiting for this for a while now. I am really excited to throw on this intake manifold and get rid of that factory one off of that motorhome smog manifold that's just choking everything up. It's terrible. It's not good. Anyways, I got the 600 Holley on here, that's factory. And it's a good carburetor and it'll work well. And what I want to do today, since we're throwing this Sniper 2 on here as well, I want to do kind of a comparison. We've got a time for 0 to 60 for the stock manifold and the Holley. And I want to throw on this bad dog, which I know what you're thinking, it's huge.
I know.
Huge.
I'm impressed as well. Anyways. And then I want to run another 0 to 60 and see if we actually pick up anything. If just the intake manifold is enough to pep this thing up and make it run a whole lot better. And then when that's done, I want to throw this bad dog on here and then we'll see if there's a big difference between the 600 that's on there and this intake manifold, the factory intake manifold, and then fuel injection. I know you're probably wondering why I would spend the money on this if I'm throwing that on and the Holley is a good carburetor anyways. Well, here in Arizona, it gets cold and it gets hot and it's very mountainous around here. So anywhere I want to travel, anything I want to do is up and down hills and through different humidity, different temperatures, everything else. And carburetors, they don't like to do all those kinds of changes. You got to adjust them all the time and want to just fire up and drive it and go on a hot rod power tour, stuff like that. So we're going to do this Sniper 2, make this thing just that much more drivable. So without further ado, let's start swapping this out and see what comparisons we get and see if we pick up any ponies, which I'm sure we'll pick up some. Considering the deck height on this, I think we're going to pick up lots of torque too. So I'm excited about that. Rear end's probably not excited about that. And tires probably aren't excited about that. Transmission I think is okay. Drive shaft's definitely okay. Let's go. So in order to make this whole process go a little bit smoother, I went out and I projected what I thought I would need to get this project done. Went and picked up a universal throttle cable because the one that we have in there is for the inline 6 and it's really long and wrapped around the carburetor, which was on this side of the engine. So we're going to get this, try and reduce some of that bind that's in there. Picked up some carburetor studs because the one that's going to be in this intake manifold are really tall because they had that smog plate that went on top. Universal throttle cable bracket that we're going to throw on. It has the factory holes in here in the same side, so we may use the factory one that was on there, but I got that just in case. Intake manifold bolts. And the Holley Sniper 2 came with, or I picked up the entire fuel injection system that came with it. So it comes with a fuel pump, some lines, fittings, so on and so forth. So this particular Sniper, the difference between this one and the old one, aside from some computers and change in orientation, it's no longer facing forward like this. They've changed the orientation to face forward like this. So it's more of like a traditional 4150. But for instance, they've run an internal rail across to the other side for the injectors on this side. So you got an inlet for fuel and then a return for fuel. So that's kind of cool, kind of neat. Probably going to throw a regulator on it anyways, but we'll see. I think there's one in this box actually. I need to read through to see if it's internally regulated or not. It's probably not, but we'll see. The cables are coming out the back, so you can't see them, unlike the other one that came out front. I think that's about it. Anyways, the monitor and everything else are in the box, and we'll put that inside. I haven't decided where yet. I kind of like just the old vintage look in there. I don't like anything new, anything shiny, so I don't know. We'll figure it out. I might just do like a piece of Velcro and a Velcro under the dash, so if I want to see it or need it, I pop it out from underneath, Velcro it to the front. Play it by ear. So first things first, open this thing up, rip off the old carburetor, pull out the distributor. But I am going to use the hoist to pull that thing out because it's a long reach and that freaking thing is like I don't, it could be 100 pounds. That thing is ridiculous. I pulled one off of a 351 modified head in a Bronco, and it was about the weight of a small human. And that's a lot on the old vertebra. Oh! Forgot how low this hood is. And this thing, killer. I need to take this tank down just a little bit. So what we'll probably do with that one too is we'll take these bolts out, wallow out the holes a little bit and slide it down just a hair. Good Lord, this thing has already been beat up with rocks. Sad the day. Anywho, let's go ahead and start draining this coolant. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? How in the hell? How could it just disappear? I don't understand. It went into like Narnia somewhere and it's gone. I don't understand. Ow.
Killer.
My sunnies. Still good. It's still good. That's not what I wanted to do. What is it with draining radiators? The sound instantly makes you have to go pee. Carb, you're out of here. Get off of my engine. You're lost. Get lost. You're gone. Now, don't get me wrong. This Holley has its faults. I don't really care for the dual bowl vents that come out. It's kind of a terrible idea, especially if you do a lot of off-roading. You have to put some sort of loop in it in order to keep the fuel from sloshing back into the intake, but I don't know, I guess it's all in how you do it. It's just not a great vent design, personally. Are you done yet? Oh my God, where did that go? No chance of finding that. That sucks. Alright. In the heck did that air cleaner to go? So we'll have to hook up the tack that comes with the kit to the actual Sniper EFI. There's a wire that'll come up and run to the tack so it can reference up to the HEI. So tell me guys, do you put any additives in your oil when you change it? In these later model engines, you still put zinc? Probably good to anyways, right? If you've ever had a moment that you wish you could just take back 0.2 seconds of your day, it would be the moment that I lifted this distributor up and the wing nut I couldn't find on the air cleaner dropped down into the hole. That's the moment I want back. Oh my God. Please, please be somewhere I can get it. Oh. If ever there's anything you don't want to drop down into the distributor hole, it's one of these guys. Just a tip. Boop. All right, so I got this old one just about ready to rip out. We'll pull this out, throw in that new one, take it for a test drive, get that 0 to 60 time, see if we made any improvements, see if it's just worth getting an intake manifold on these engines, and then we'll come back and throw on the expensive stuff. These factory cast intake manifolds are just so heavy, just ridiculous. I'm gonna take that aluminum one and I'm just gonna go bloop. This one takes an entire crane or army of people to get off. Oh, here. There is some crusties in here. I'll go ahead and show you them guys. Looks like maybe that pan there was rubbing on the push rods. There's some marks. Let me bring you in here so you can take a look. So, cam's got some wear, but it looks pretty good. That's stuff you don't want to see in there. We'll take that out. You see the wear marks on the push rods? I think they were just kind of rubbing on that pan. that sat in here for the intake gaskets. But it looks good. All the lifters look good. I pulled up and down on the push rods. They all are equally tight, so we won't have to go through and adjust any of that stuff. But eventually, I mean, we'll upgrade all this stuff when we do a truck Norris cam and some heads, but as of right now, this will do just fine. So while I got this thing hanging up here, why don't we go ahead and do a comparison of the deck height or the intake runner height. So this guy here, I'm holding up one hand. It would take me 4 midgets to hold this one up. Take a look at the difference there. That is incredible. So this guy here is going to produce a lot more torque flow, way better than this thing ever did. And it's really not even up here. There's a spacer here, so it's almost completely flat, straight across. This is going to do wonders. Hopefully the jetting's all right, because I don't have any jets. All right, we're gooped. Let's set her down. Boop. Intake manifold is in. I'm gonna start throwing on all the vacuum plugs and everything else, and then we'll bring you guys back up to speed. All right, everything's back on top, ready to go. I'm gonna fill it up with water, make sure there ain't no leaks, and then we'll crank it over and see how far off the timing is. Get it burped off. This engine holds a metric butt ton of coolant. Let's do it. Boom. Smog ports in the back. I'm gonna plug that back up. I'll tell you one thing, it's definitely spicier. Excited to go out and see exactly how spicy. Not too crazy spicy because it's still got those smog heads on it, but it sounds pretty spicy. Oh yeah, doesn't that look so much better? You need some long tube headers and some heads and a cam and nitrous. No, stop it, stop it. Cruiser. Maybe just a tiny turbo. All right, let's shut her off, close it up, hit the road. I can't even begin to tell you how much better this thing drives by switching that out. It's smoother, throttle response is crisp. That thing is just, I don't even understand. How could you possibly restrict it so much? You're just dumping fuel in there trying to get it. And that's somehow better than making it more efficient. Granted, when you do get in the throttle, I'm probably burning like a gallon a mile, but anyways, it is every bit of 200 degrees under here. So I'm gonna call it a night, go in, eat some food, and we'll come back out in the morning when it's nice and cooled down and throw on that sniper kit. Don't look at my junk, it's right there. See you in the morning. Good morning, welcome back, day 2. Today we're gonna put on the fuel injection and see where our gains really lie. There's a lot of guys out there, mostly like the hot rodding, drag racing guys that are more into the carburetor. They believe that there's a better, forget what the word is called, but basically the fuel is misted in a finer amount, mixes better with the oxygen through a carburetor than it does in fuel injection. I have to agree, most injectors are down on practically the heads at the bottom of the intake runner, so it doesn't have a whole lot of time to aerate, I guess. I can't think of the word right now, but if somebody knows it, post it in the comments. Tell me I'm an idiot. The channel says it anyways, but so I'm curious to see how well this Sniper 2 works, because it's kind of the same idea. The injector's way up at the top, and so maybe that diffusion or that spread of the fuel throughout the air is just as good as the carburetor. We'll see. They say it's good up to 650 horsepower, somewhere around in that range. This intake manifold creates power between 1,000 and 6,800. These heads are not going to get anywhere near 6,800. I think it'll probably drop off around 4,000 and stop building power. Also, you got the factory manifolds on there, so I mean they're good for torque, but they really kill the horsepower. So enough jaw jacking. Let's throw on some 21st century technology in our 66 F250. Just so you're aware, that's about as far as the technology is going to go in this truck, because I absolutely love the fact that it's old and you got switches and levers. Perfect. Oh, my darling. I'm gonna hit my head on that at least 755 times. I absolutely love this air cleaner. I think this thing is perfect. It's vintage Ford Cobra, like Cobra 427. Just a perfect fix for this. So we are definitely slitching out this throttle cable. It just wants to bind the whole time.
Killer.
Get out of my way. Got to figure out something for the kickdown as well. Probably have to put like a little extension bracket on it or something. It doesn't reach, and that might have been affecting our 0 to 60. I think maybe we could have gotten faster. It is, as it sits right now, only 1 second slower than Scrappy, the Fox Body Mustang. It's a bonehead move. It's 2 bonehead moves. You set your magnet tray down on top of your toolbox, and then to drop a socket on your truck that you can't repaint ever again because it's patina.
Killer.
Oh yeah. Up on the shelf. There you go, little fella. You can sit with all the other relics up here. Let's grab her. Throw her on. Lots of hose. That's where the real money goes, to the hose. I spend all my money on hose. I'm gonna go ahead and set this up on top. That way we covered up this hole. No chance of dropping something down there by accident. Oh, ho, ho. Oh, ho, ho, ho. So I've been plugging away at this thing here. I've got it pretty much good to go. Fuel line is run, that's the return, comes around, down to the regulator, and then return back to the tank. Put in the fuel pump and everything, I'll show you in a sec. It comes up, across, and then into the front. Put the throttle cable in, the linkage and all that. I'm gonna have to figure out something with the kick down. It needs a little return spring. Everything else wired all the way around. The harness is wired in. So there's still some wiring inside. There's like optional stuff. But all these wires here, there's some optional. There's like fan and there's a ground like actuation for relays, stuff like that. But we won't be using any of that. So I've hooked up, there's also a wire that goes to an aftermarket tach, so we can continue to use that tachometer. As for underneath, so we got the high micron filter, but that comes over, fuel pump, and then the fuel filter after, and then running down that way. So we got that all straightened out, and I'm in the process of drilling for the O2 sensor. And then once that's drilled, we'll start going through the calibration, and we should be ready to rip, I think. So I'll get back at it. Jump in when we're ready to calibrate this sucker. All right, we should be able to run down through the calibration now. Everything's hooked up that I want to hook up. Everything that's not hooked up is stuff that I don't want to hook up. It says the fuel pump won't run until it's gone through calibration. That's probably why I don't hear it right now. Number of cylinders, 8. Next. Engine displacement is a lot, so we'll go with 460. All right, let's crank it up. Everything's out of the way. Need to get a fuel pressure gauge for this regulator so I can tune it in, but let's see if it fires up first. Fuel pump's primed. So let it learn and do its thing. So I can't get it to idle lower than 1100 RPM. I don't have any vacuum leaks or anything like that, so I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to look into it, see what we can figure out. And I'll get back to you guys. It's getting hot, quick. Alright, so everything is put together. After chasing the idle for a long time and looking everything up, I didn't find anything that told me indirectly exactly what was going on. So I just started turning screws in places, and turns out the secondary screw, this one here, was in too far. And so it was bypassing all of that, and I couldn't get the idle air control to pick up, and it was just already letting in too much. So I had backed out the idle screw as far as it would possibly go, and it was still too much RPM. So that was the issue. Backed that out, the RPM dropped down, got it right into where I needed for the idle air control. Got it all back together. It runs and sounds good. We'll take it for a test drive tomorrow and see what it actually does. Good morning. It's time to finish this thing up. First, I want to see how it does with a little bit of a cold start. It's only like 45, 50 degrees out right now, but at least we can get an idea of what it does with it. Everything is done out here. Everything's routed. All good to go out here. Just need to tidy up some stuff inside. With the wires, I need to cap off and then mount the box itself. But let's go ahead and see how it starts up. That'll do. That'll do. didn't really want to put this out in the open like this, but there's just really no other place for it to go. I wanted to try and put it here, but there's a concave. Maybe later I'll put it there. Or maybe something I'll fashion into the cigarette lighter. It looks like it's a little too big for that. Or maybe we just do a 7-inch display right here. Alright, let's take it out here, see what we got.
You weren't a liar.
It said 80.
It did not.
Yes, it did. Don't need this anymore.
Wanna go again?
No, I don't at all. Not with this little bungee cord for your seatbelt.
Alright, we're back. So that was fun. Only got one shot at the 0 to 60. The wife was not impressed with the attempt to go to the 8th mile. But the 0 to 60 for this guy with the Sniper EFI and the wind intake manifold, 7.5 seconds. That's another 1.5 seconds off the time with just the intake manifold. This thing drives great. It drives so smooth. I'm sure fuel mileage has got to be somewhat better. I don't know yet. We'll check it at some point later down the road. But it was 100% worth getting that EFI kit on there. This thing's going to be a nice little daily driver. Not necessarily daily, but I mean, it will be capable of doing daily driving. I think we could have actually got a better 0 to 60 time. But this rear end is a open diff, and so it one-leggers. I was having to pedal through a lot of it, if you look back at the video, to get it to go forward. Not a whole lot of forward bite when only this tire is driving the truck forward while the other one tries to wear itself down. But if you're ever thinking about doing something like this versus for this 460, the wind intake, stealth intake manifold versus this stock intake manifold, 1000% worth it. Sniper EFI on this setup over the Holley 600, the factory one, also 1000% worth it. It's just about putting down the cheddar to do it. This isn't a very inexpensive upgrade for this truck, but I think it was well worth it. I'm mostly pumped that this air filter and the air cleaner housing can sit in the right direction now. This is what I envisioned from the beginning, this engine looking like. And nailed it. Makes my heart happy to have this all finished up and done. Some long tube headers at some point in there. But it looks good for right now, so we'll stick with it. So that's going to be it for this episode. Happy to have done this little experiment and see what the differences were and where things worked out and what things may or may not be worth it, but it turned out to all be completely worth it. I didn't really suspect it would be anything other than that, considering how restrictive that other intake manifold was and how outdated and archaic that Holley 600 was. I don't know the exact model, of that particular Holley, but I do know that it came factory on the 460s after a certain time. But thanks for coming along for the ride. Might be a little while before I get the wife to ride along in it. No, I'm just kidding. She actually loves this truck, loves riding around in it. So many more times to scare for beyond this with upgrades, if there is any more upgrades that'll go into this truck. But thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. And as always, have fun.